Welcome back to another episode of The Building Code. I am your one and only host, Charley Birtwistle, because Zach Witovich is not here. He is doing some volunteer work, giving back to the community. I think that may just be an excuse because he doesn't want to spend any time with me. But regardless, with him out, we went out and found the best possible substitute we could. And I am happy to announce in our first ever Building Code podcast experience, Courtney Mattern.
Hi.
Courtney, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of The Building Code. How are you feeling? Are you excited, nervous?
Well, it's a lot different being on this side of the glass in the studio. I'm usually behind the scenes on the podcast, and I'm a little bit bossy, as you know, and have high expectations.
Yes.
Now I'm not even sure I can meet my own expectations.
Yeah. Who is the Courtney going to be for you to walk in after the interview and give feedback?
Yeah, who's going to come in and say, record this again?
Yeah, try it again.
We've got volunteers already on the studio.
Yeah, they're lining up.
They're
outside.
lining up to give me feedback.
Courtney, for those of you, Zach and I have mentioned it a couple times, but she was the one that first kind of approached Zach and I about taking over the podcast host roles. So we would not be here without Courtney. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity. And I'm excited that it came full circle and us doing an actual episode together today.
Yeah. And you're welcome to everybody who's listening for picking two wonderful hosts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if this episode is really good, we can just formally replace Zach with you and just move forward with us.
I mean, we did have an exchange yesterday where I was like, you ready for me to replace you on the podcast? And then he looked very sad.
Yeah.
So I take it back, Zach. Your spot is safe.
Zach's spot. Yeah. If anything, he'll replace me, and then that would be the true dream team. But we have a very special guest for our first ever episode with Courtney, Eduardo Muniz from Boston Best Construction. He immigrated to the United States a little over 20 years ago and started a construction business from the ground up. So very, very excited to hear his perspective on just kind of what it takes to start a business and the entrepreneurial spirit. And I think I did a pretty decent job saying entrepreneurial spirit there. I just kind of slurred my way through it. But yeah, I think without further ado, let's go ahead and get him in here. Hey, Eduardo, welcome to The Building Code. First time on. How's it going?
I'm great. Thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very excited to have you on. We were talking to our producers a little bit before this, and they were telling me a little bit about your story, and I think it's going to be an exciting interview for our listeners and all involved. But you actually immigrated into the U.S. and started your company kind of from the ground up, which I'd say is different from most guests that we have on that typically, family business, they kind of just kind of inherit it or hire there and work their way up. So I think that's going to be very, very exciting. But for people that haven't heard your story, could you kind of give us a quick overview of how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I am a Brazilian immigrant. I came here 20 years ago. Actually, last week was 20 years that I got to the United States.
Oh, wow.
With
Exciting.
With $100 in my pocket and no English. So I have to learn. I didn't know how to say hi and bye by then. And I learned everything on the street. I didn't go to school. I didn't go anywhere. I learned like working in different trades. So I started from sales rep and like on the Brazilian newspaper, and then starting going to restaurant. So I did everything that an immigrant do it, but I always had a focus of being my own boss, having my own companies. And today I have 6 companies in the United States. Construction is one of my businesses.
Tell us a little bit more about your business, about your construction business, Boston Best Construction. What do you build? What kind of projects do you work on?
Okay, so Boston Best Construction was born 9 years ago from the ground. I never had experience with construction, and I decided to open my own construction. And I started doing small residential projects like bathrooms, kitchens, and out of that we start growing. And today we do 50% commercial, 50% residential, and we do from design and build, from ground up, or small remodels. We don't do much of the small remodels right now anymore, but we still do it,
Yeah, I was looking at your website before we hopped on here, and it does look like you guys dip your toes in a little bit of everything. Beautiful projects all the way around.
Yeah, and the pictures on my website, they are not stock photos. They're all legit projects we did,
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure to link bostonbestconstruction.com in the show notes here so people can see what we're talking about.
Thank you.
But you said you started this business 9 years ago. You immigrated 20 years ago. Is that right?
Correct.
So you were about 10 years in. Tell us a little bit about the early days of Boston Best. What was it like building a construction business from the ground up?
Yeah, so starting a construction business, knowing nothing about the trade, I had to invest in myself and learning skills. And the most difficult part was I didn't know all the terminologies for construction. So I went to a client's house and I didn't know the vocabulary precisely. I started to hear things that I've never heard. And I had to say, yes, we can do it. And then I had to go find myself and learn, and talking to friends. And so it was a learning process for me from the day. And when I started, I didn't have money to hire people to do project management, to do purchasing, to do all the financings, like paperwork, things like that. So I was one man with all the hats. And when I started to grow a little bit, I hired one person that helped me like with purchasing, cleaning job sites, So that was my first movement, getting someone to take all of the hard load that was on me. I hired this person to start doing that part that I didn't need much knowledge, just need like coordination, And then I removed this hat so I could focus on something else. And then that was the step I was doing to grow my company. It was, I figured out what was my weaknesses and what was my strength. And whatever was my weakness, I started hiring people to do it, And that's one of the things I've learned in business. Like, you don't need to know everything. You need to know who does,
In those early days, was there ever a time when you were like, what did I get myself into? And if so, like, how did you work through that and get over that hurdle?
No, I didn't have that on the early phases. Because one thing that I say is, like, if you're a company worth $100,000, you have $100,000 problem.
Yeah.
And if you do $1 million, you have $1 million problems, So today I think sometimes, what the heck am I doing this business? So much problems, because it's an industry, it's full of like a construction. It's a surprise box. We never know what's going to happen that day, So we need to be prepared. So I never thought of like the early phase. Where did I get into? And today I don't hesitate again to think, because I do have a system in place. But I had that mid crisis, that said, how I'm gonna get to the next level.
When you were starting this company, did you ever expect to get where you are now, 9 years later? Like, what does the personal growth feel like?
Okay, so I am a high achiever person. I'm an entrepreneur. Okay. So anything that I start, I already start thinking where I'm going to get. So I do have a focus to, when I started my construction, I know where I want to be. My other 5 businesses that I have, I know where I want to be. I know my exit strategy for this business as well. So it's like I do have a very clear path where I want to go. So I where I am, it is a very good position, but it's not yet where I want to be.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious how you said 5 other businesses and this one, so 6 total.
Yes.
How do you go about juggling all those, and kind of what percentage goes to each, or is it kind of day by day?
Okay, so the construction, it's the mother of all other ones because it's where I get the seeds, the funds to generate the other business. So there was a point that the Boston Best Construction was generating revenue. Right now, all the business run by itself, so I don't need this anymore. But my day-to-day operation is my full-time job is the construction, and whatever I do before 6 a.m. or do after 6, 7 p.m., it's the other businesses. And I've learned that wealthy comes not from your 8 to 5 job.
Right.
Your 8 to 5 job will bring you a very decent life, a good life, will deliver good things for your family. But wealth is going to come whatever you do before 8 and after 5.
Eduardo, I'm starting to think that you have more than 24 hours in a day, though.
I do have more than 24 hours. I do have more because the secret, it's not how many hours I work. It's how many people I have working on my team.
Yeah.
That's the biggest secret. It's like you don't need to do everything. You need to have the right person to help you, you know. And where I got right now in my company and like my other businesses is I'm building a structure that the business can run without me. I can go to Florida because we are one of my other business. It's a mental health clinic, which we have here in Massachusetts. We are moving now to Florida as well. I'm not physically moving, but we are expanding a clinic in there. So I'm traveling to Florida every month for like a couple of days, so I can be away from my construction company and things still running here happening. So it was a system in process, and thanks to Buildertrend. Yeah. Okay, now you guys get into
Small
this
plug.
because yeah, I am away, and at the same time, I'm inside the company because of Buildertrend. Okay, this was not ask me to talk. I'm bringing this because it's when you put a system in place. Every business you know needs a system, and the system that I found out 5 years ago, I've been working with Buildertrend. It's a system that deliver me freedom. Because from far away, I can see what my people are doing on the daily logs, and I can put my hands on, and like I make comments. I can see what the clients are saying, you know. And my next step, it's like in the next 5 months, 6 months, I want to step out even more from my construction company, but I don't want to lose control. So I'm still implementing all the tools that Buildertrend has, you know.
I think sometimes people get afraid to implement something like Buildertrend or a system because it can feel rigid and feel like you're going to lose that freedom. But sometimes it actually gives you structure. It gives you the time to step away.
Yeah, the transition process is painful sometimes because you were going from probably nothing to a technology. And for you to start implementing is like Buildertrend, you guys have from sales to project management and financing, you know, the financial part now. And a lot of metrics, and I'm pretty sure you guys are putting every day more content. So if someone wants to get Buildertrend today and go from 1 to 100 in 1 week, he's gonna get overwhelmed because there's so many tools. So I think it's like you need to start the process. Okay, so what's your most difficult part right now in your company? Is it like estimating? Okay, so get Buildertrend and start working the tools for estimating. Once you sell your first job, convert as a project. And then you start from then, you know. So all of a sudden you have one project running, and then everything starts to line up, and automatically you grow the knowledge on the system, you know.
Well, Eduardo, if you ever have any free time and want to come work as a trainer here at Buildertrend, you just laid it out perfect
you
here.
Have all those extra hours.
I'm a business mentor, and I help people business grow. You know, I'll be more than happy to give like tools for you guys as well.
We should talk about that a little bit more in your journey, because I know you're passionate about sharing what you've learned in your business. How are you giving back and as a mentor? Do you meet with other builders just like you? Are you focused on other immigrants like you too, or coming in with a dream to build a company from the ground up?
Okay, so I discovered my passion this year, which my passion, really passion, it's not grow business. It's not being a millionaire. You know, my passion is to deliver to people what I learned, you know, because what I've learned in the past like 9 years, it's invaluable because I learned with my own mistakes, and then it cost me millions of dollars of mistake. And what I want to do is give this tool for people so they learn how not to lose the money I lost, you know. And I've lost like over $1 million in the past 2 years.
Yeah, life is too short to make all the mistakes.
Exactly.
So you might as well learn from somebody else's.
Yeah, and what I do to give away is like I'm Christian, and at my church I create a group called as businessmen's group. It's just for men that have any sort of businesses. And the Brazilian community has a lot of construction companies, and I have a lot of people that I've been mentoring every Friday at 7 p.m. at the church. So I get together with them in a room at the church, and I ask, like, what are the challenges that week? And then we go point per point, and someone that it's there, like last week we had someone that I don't see him have a vision of being his own boss, having his own company, but he's stuck on his company he is right now. And I was talking to him, listen, okay, so what is your passion? And he didn't know his passion. And I started to brainstorm, and all of a sudden he said, okay, my passion is this. So, okay, so why don't you develop yourself on that, your passion, so you can grow to the company you are? So I'm helping people on grow on the position they are, on the location they are, or growing their business. Not everybody was designed to be a boss. Not everybody. It's a wire. It's the way you are wired.
Yeah.
So I've been helping people sometimes figuring out how to go to the next phase and making plans for their career, not as a business owner, but also as an employee.
Right.
Mindset.
I think we probably do have a few listeners out there that maybe haven't started a construction business yet, but are interested, and that's why they're checking out the podcast and get different content, things like that. As someone that has built a construction business from the ground up, and are now in a spot where you can give back some of that knowledge, what's some of the advice that you'd give that person, and kind of where to start in their journey?
I think the first step to build your construction company, there's two things you need to fight on inside you. One, it's kill all the objections that are not making you do the next step. Money cannot be objection. I don't have money to buy my van. Okay, get your car, put your tools in the roof of your car. I don't know. Buy something so you can put your tools. Don't put objections, because if you have the ability to perform a job and you make objection, I don't have a truck. Come on. That cannot be the reason you're not going to open a business,
If you can't figure out that problem, how are you going to figure out the next biggest problem that comes with running a business?
Like you need to come up with a solution for yourself. And creating a business, it's you solving problems. If you cannot solve your own problem, you're never going to be a successful business owner. Okay? The biggest companies, they are big because they found a big problem that someone has it, or a small problem that too many people have it. Okay, it can be one big problem of one person that will give you so much money, or one small problem of multiple person that you can solve this problem. So if you cannot solve your own problem of opening the company, you're never going to be a successful business owner. So the first thing is you need to step on your objections. The words I can't, I don't know, cannot be on your vocabulary. That's the first thing I say for anybody that wants to start your own company.
Yeah, I love that. I think specifically in the construction business, because so many companies are kind of homegrown, but a lot of people that we have on here, that entrepreneurial spirit of no one else is going to do it unless I do it, is always really, really inspiring to hear. So I love hearing the words of advice from you, and I hope that lands with a listener out there, and then 9 years from now we have them on this podcast and they can thank Eduardo.
I want them to be bigger than me 9 years, because my 9 years I learned with my mistakes. You let's be the wise man that learns with someone else's mistake. I can say something for there's 3 types of ways of learning. One, it's you pay $500,000, go to Harvard, and you graduate as an amazing major for MBA. Okay, so you're gonna grow your business with a solid foundation. You're never gonna make financial mistakes, but you're gonna grow on a piece of 5 years in school plus building this success. Or you're gonna learn like I did it, putting my face to the test and losing the same $500,000.
Right.
But from this 5 years of someone that's learning, I'm already flying.
5-year head start. Right.
Yeah. Or you can learn with someone else's mistake. And this is the wisest thing to do, is like get to a mentoring and see, okay, so how can I avoid this problem and how can I grow to the next level? And so this is, if I know this like 9 years ago, I would be in some other position right now, way better. If I learn what I've learned in 9 years.
Yeah, I think I'll take option 3. I think that sounds like a good one there.
Of course, it's the wise man way of learning,
Right. So then you mentioned you'd been with Buildertrend for about 5 years. Is that correct?
Yes, 5 years.
Gotcha. So what was kind of the tipping point for you about 4 years into your kind of construction journey there to think to yourself, okay, there has to be an easier way. I need a kind of a software.
Yeah. Well, sometimes we hear that it's like a mistake, or someone else gives you the advice. Like, what was it that sparked the desire to not only grow a business, but then add on?
My desire was not Buildertrend. My desire was to find a tool, a system. Okay, so I went to multiple other platforms before Buildertrend. And my biggest problem was believe it or not, Buildertrend is a project management platform, but I was introduced to you guys as a sales, as like leads generation, like to create proposals, because I found out an easy way for you guys when I put my description, unit price, a quantity, and then the markup. I can say how much markup I want, so it makes the calculation easily. Before I was doing my proposal, before I was doing my proposal, but I was using like a Excel spreadsheet saying like if I want to have 25%, 30% markup, this, and then I was making like a lot of simulations until I have my final price. So what I figured out was amazing about Buildertrend was the easiest about the markup, which I need 30% of this project, 30%, it makes the adjustment by itself. So this was one of the reason I signed up with Buildertrend, because it was easy to create proposals. And after that, I've learning the process about the daily logs and converting to jobs, and it's been a very great journey. You guys recently launched the takeoff things built-in, which was a pretty cool feature. I do have a couple of suggestions to give, like in the end, if you guys want to hear.
Yeah, we love notes.
Yeah. Well, cool. That's I think we typically see people come to us as looking for a project management software, and then it's 2 or 3 years later, or months or weeks, or whatever speed, they're like, oh wait, we can also manage the pre-sale process. Oh, we can also invoice our clients directly. We can release estimates. And
we can pay people from the software. Nobody told us.
Yeah, now you guys can release payments to all the subs, and subs can get paid by when the project manager approves the job is being done. The finance can you guys are developing, and it's doing super cool. I think you guys are going to grow way more than that.
Well, we
hope so.
Yeah, we love to hear it, and appreciate you kind of doing our sales pitch for us, so Courtney and I don't have to.
Yeah, we would.
And you guys never asked me, like on the script you guys sent me about this interview today. There was nothing related for me to talk about your software.
So what have been some of your biggest successes with your company, whether it's something in Buildertrend or not? Like, what are you really proud of?
My construction company?
Mm-hmm.
Can you reformulate this question?
Like, what is your biggest success? Like, is it something really, is it a project? Is it, some hurdle you overcome? Like, at the end of the day, what are you really proud of?
I think today what I'm proud, it's the team that I built. It's the people that work for me. I think it took me a while to find the right people to be beside me, And success, it's not about me. It's about whoever is with me. Because, as you said, I have 24 hours in my day.
Right.
So, and the rest of the hours, it's whoever's beside me. So, the one thing that I'm proud of, it's the structure of my company.
Well, I think that's a fantastic note for us to end on here. Huge shout out to. Hopefully, they'll all be listening to this episode.
Your whole team.
Right?
They will probably.
Perfect. So huge shout out to them. This is how you can tell if they actually listened or not. You can ask them. Like, hey,
did you hear? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll see about the minutes that's the. So I'll say listen 10 minutes and 20 seconds.
Right. Well, Eduardo, thank you very much for coming on today. I had an absolute blast.
Pleasure.
I'm gonna leave the studio definitely more motivated than I was when I came in. So I'll head back to my desk and
you're a shining
more.
example of that growth mindset. Like when you don't say I can't, you say how am I going to, and I think that's a good takeaway for all of our listeners.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's my passion, help people. Anything that I can do for people, it's all about that, and helping my team here right now, even their personal lives matter for me.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Eduardo.
I appreciate it.
We'll be in touch about getting that takeoff feedback.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Good. Yeah. But thank you so much for inviting me today.
Yep. Have a good one. See ya.
You too.
Well, Courtney, we just finished up our episode with Eduardo. This is normally the time Zach would ask me what I thought, but luckily you're in the hot seat today. So tell us what you thought about the interview. What do you think about Eduardo and Boston
Sure.
Best?
Yeah, I thought Eduardo was really inspirational. I think in my role on the brand and content team over marketing, we get to tell a lot of success stories, and we get to dive into companies and business owners and what their challenges were. And I have started to see a theme arise, and there's something that sets builders apart who become really successful, and it's their mindset. It's the idea, just like you said, like stomp on your excuses, stomp on your objections. Like you can't say, oh, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm just going to keep making too many mistakes, because that's going to keep you from growing. So having that growth mindset when you're starting a business or when you're starting with something like Buildertrend can be the difference between success and failure.
Yeah, I love that kind of analogy there and that outlook. I also think I was reminded multiple times throughout his interview when he was talking about kind of these different things. Both of us had kind of had the unique experience at Buildertrend of building out teams that had never existed before. And so when he was talking about, is it a $1,000 problem, $1 million problem? It's like, yeah, I can relate to that. Of like, it really wasn't high pressure when we first started.
When you first started out.
And now, 5 years later, how long have you been here? 5? 4?
Four in September. And I think it's interesting too. He talked about like building his team and different business owners and different people who are entrepreneurs. Like some want to manage a team and some don't. We were actually talking about that just before this. Like some people love developing talent. Some people like to be strategic leads and make big decisions and build a roadmap. And there's a place for both type of people in leadership roles and business roles. And it takes both personalities to make a company successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm excited to hear back from Eduardo. We'll have to keep in touch with him. I actually think I'm going to send him Zach's email.
He can take the takeoff feedback, which we're always happy to take too. And I will just make a marketing plug here too. We have a Facebook group called the Building Code Crew, where you can give your commentary and your feedback too after you listen to the podcast episodes. And you're always welcome to email my team at podcast@buildertrend.com too, like real people. That's me and Nicole and the people behind the glass in the recording booth. We all read those emails. We make sure we answer them. So we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Or just email Zach directly at
actually
redacted.
Yeah. Let's give them his cell phone number.
Yeah. Everyone go out and email Zach. Go to our Facebook page and just reply, "We want Zach." That was a great plug. I always forget to do that, so I'm glad you're here. What I don't forget to do is tell people to like, review, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. I'm Charley Burleson.
Oh, and I'm Courtney Mattern, standing in for Zach Witovich.
Boom. Peace. Thanks for watching the video. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for exclusive content brought to you by Buildertrend.